Thank you for tuning in. It is the No1 Podcast where we discuss the journey. We explore the journey of going from no one to number one. Thank you for tuning in. Today I wanted to talk, and I got to be brief because I got a hard stop here at 2 o'clock. I've got a client meeting. But before I hit that client meeting, by the way, that client is Feisty. Feisty Spirits, Feisty Spirits. You can at Feisty Spirits for Instagram or feistspirits.com. Check them out. I'm going to be there in Fort Collins. We're doing a 10X networking event in Fort Collins tomorrow. Show up. I will be there 4:30 to about 6:30. So I'd love to meet you, man. If you're in the Fort Collins area, please come. Have a drink. Feisty is the number one. Notice the theme here. The number one, the first distillery in Fort Collins. It's also I think it's the number one award winner, maybe in the entire state, 29 awards. So come on out, man. Grab a drink. They have all these great cocktails. You can meet Chad, the bartender, Cameron, my pal. He's in charge of promotions. The owner, Jamie, will all be there. So if you have any questions, if you're in the area and you can come up there, hit me up. I'll send you a link. Might I even buy you a drink, but you got to show up. Okay. So, I got that client call with them. I help run their sales meetings and they're blowing up. We doubled sales just in 1 week. And I think I don't know. More than double sales, maybe. I don't know. I'd have to look at the numbers again, but it's pretty crazy. Things are blowing up. Hope you guys are doing good. Hope things are blowing up for you. I want to talk about, I've been dwelling on wrestling with greatness. That's this thing I've been working on. I got 5 pillars. And I think one of those pillars, I want to talk about standing up for yourself today. And that, I think, gets into pillar 1, number 1. The first pillar, which is being real, getting real, having that rock bottom, having that moment. Standing up for yourself can have a lot of different expressions. For example, I remember the last time, I've always thought I was good at standing up for myself, but sometimes you learn it. You have to listen to other people sometimes because you're not objective. You're too much in the weeds and maybe you're being taken advantage of. Remember, I had a girlfriend. Now, this is the stripper that I was engaged to. I was engaged to 2 different strippers at one point in my life. Talk about a disaster, man. I do not recommend that. Do not do that unless they're a good person. I mean, there are, you don't want to judge. But I'll say that industry can be unless the person is very spiritual and centered, can be rough on the psyche. And anyway, and it was rough on me. And I was being treated very poorly. But I was so enamored with this person. And, maybe for the wrong reasons. It was strictly on looks because of my own insecurities. I wanted the validation of this hyper attractive woman. Whatever the case may be, I was being a fool. And I was being trampled on. And it was apparent to many, many people. And I remember one time she was having problems. She was really into drugs, not crazy stuff like heroin or anything like that. But I think she was doing GHB and some other like bodybuilding culture drugs. And she was having problems. And so we were at like a vitamin cottage or something like that. And she was acting like a bitch. And I was putting up with it and looking like a fool. And this nice, cute young lady, probably 23, 25, something like that. After my ex had acted so grossly towards me, and I was just taking it because I just had no perspective. I was too close to it, whatever excuse. It was just stupid. I was being a fool, and I wasn't seeing it. And this young lady who I never met, she comes up to me and she says, I really appreciate this, man. This was a great change in my life. And she was the catalyst. And she came up to me and she said, are your initials BMI? And I'm like, no. And she's like, then why are you picking up trash? BMI is the company that that was the big trash company and picking up garbage. So I mean, I was laughing. I was like, oh fuck, shit, this random ass person is seeing that I am being treated badly and is off put by this enough to actually, in a very clever and funny way. So whoever you are out there, I can't remember, but you were at the Vitamin Cottage in Arvada that's got to be over 20 years ago. But after that, it was like, it was that like paintbrush moment in Airplane when they're like, get your senses, and really shook me out of the bullshit. So all right. Oh, we got some comments already. Yeah, no. CWO, bro. I'm not rocking. Okay, so John David Franklin says I'm rocking the NWO. No, CWO. This is me appropriating the New World Order and making it into the catch wrestling World Order. So I appreciate the. You can get these, man. I make rash guards. Go to Scientific Wrestling, place your order. I make spats, shorts, jackets that are sick. Maybe I'll bring one on tomorrow. What's Carl gonna say? What's up? Oh, dude, you're just in and out, man. All right, Carl, good to see you, bro. I appreciate you. Yeah, for you on Instagram, I'm talking to people on Facebook right now. John David, not heroin. Yeah, so she didn't, but she was like tripping acid. I mean, I was tripping acid too, but I was a young person. Total disaster. So anyway, yeah. So you couldn't see through the sign. Kaiju Wrecking Machine on Instagram. Catch World Order for life. Yeah, bro. So I'm trying. We got to come up with some sort of like hand signal, right? Because they had one. All the wrestlers got them. Like, we got to figure out something for that. If you got ideas, send them to me. I'd love to hear it. But it's important. After that wake up call, man, I stood up for myself. I was like, "Fuck you, bitch! You treat me like shit. Hit the road." And she did. And man, was my life better. And it just was stupid. I was like suckered into this bad behavior. And now look, it doesn't happen just to me, and it don't just happen to. I mean, Will Smith's an idiot anyway. But like, or let's say Johnny Depp. It's been happening to men and women in these situations. But here's the thing. What is your responsibility in this? Sometimes the abuser, even though they're doing bad things, had you not allowed it, they wouldn't have done those bad things. So what is your responsibility in enabling that behavior, right? So I think it's important for you to stand up for yourself. Now, this doesn't mean to always be contentious and always, be a pain in the ass about it. I'm just saying, like, I think it's very important for people to understand this concept. You hear it thrown around of boundaries and all this psychobabble bullshit. Well, I just like the idea of boundaries, of like property, of this idea of like there is a line and that is mine. And if you cross the line, if someone crosses the line, it's your responsibility to defend that boundary, that property line, not theirs. If they aggress, you need to stand up. So this speaks to a broader concept, in my opinion, of self-defense, of the Second Amendment. I'm not even talking about guns. Guns are included because if somebody aggresses and you need guns to be able to defend your boundary, then you damn well better fucking have one, or it ain't going to work. You don't want to be bringing a knife to a gunfight, right? So it's relevant at many scales, like micro to macro, this idea of standing up for yourself. So, I think it is something that, is ill-defined sometimes in our culture, and that's why people get away with it. But is it ill-defined because of them or because of you, because of me, right? So I consider myself a flawed human, but I try to be principled, right? This is the whole thing with like religion and redemption and sin and confession. I mean, I come from a Catholic thing, but whatever your particular thing is, I'm a recovering Catholic. I'm an agnostic. I'm not atheist either. I do consider myself a person that is convinced of a magical world that we live in. I think there are things beyond materialistic science. I think there is a more what I've heard called monistic idealism to describe a science that is more inclusive of things that are the anomalies in life, in science, the things that shift paradigms. Very open to that. There's a lot of fantastic research that the zeitgeist, the modern world has not caught up to. But anyway, I I don't want to go off on that too much. I want to say that, like, I think that, this awesome responsibility of standing up for yourself is important. You have to do it. Nobody else is going to do it. If you outsource it to, say, even police, it's nice to have them. And I'm glad that some people have taken up that job. I'm not glad of the ones that abuse the power, of course. But I'm glad they're there because sometimes you need reinforcements, somebody maybe who is third party to assess the situation based on a set of rules that are somewhat agreed upon. I mean, that's kind of contentious, but at least can help. But you have to take responsibility for that. So if somebody is fucking with you, you have to stand up. But, let's look at this in the context of the Chris Rock, Will Smith situation. I'm still not completely convinced that wasn't a complete fucking work. That's pro wrestling talk. That it wasn't fake or set up or pre-planned. And you have to remember, in any kind of work, it only takes one person in on the work to pull it off. You can have more, but it only takes one person to throw a fight. And that's the person throwing the fight. The person who wins may think that it's a real win still, right? And defend that fight. So Chris Rock may or may not have been in it, but it seems stupid, okay? Like dumb. Like really, like you are going to go on stage and assault another human being who is a comedian. It's their job. And let me tell you something. Ricky Gervais, who is the best host for that show, like he is fucking raw, dude. I love it. Okay. If you go back and watch it, man, he just like lays into people. And he wouldn't have said anything about Jada Pinkett being on G.I. Jane and had Will Smith. He would have been like talking about her fucking around with this other guy. And from what I understand is that she let him know on a live TV broadcast that he funded and paid for. And he had to sit there and take this from her. I mean, she's fucked up, okay? There are just fucked up people. And I'm sick of these people, everybody trying to divide it about men and women and feminism and meninism and whatever. Listen, we could see Amber Heard chopping off Johnny Depp's fucking finger. Okay? No bueno. Lorena Bobbitt chopping off a guy's dick. No fucking bueno. Okay? Jada Pinkett, like, just torturing this fucking fool. It's not good, man. But it happens, men and women. We all know fucking these, like, abuser fucking people. But, okay, you encourage what you tolerate at the same time. Okay? I'm not victim blaming. I'm saying those people are responsible and they have aggressed. And in my principled estimation, okay, the principles I live by, which are kind of the simple libertarian principles of non-aggression, but defending you, I have every right to defend fucking, to stop that aggression. I think that, like, it's like this. Have you ever heard of like this idea of like, don't set a good dog up to be bad? Right? So if you don't want, I don't know, your dog to rip up your couch, then create a barrier or something between you and your couch and the dog, or you don't want your dog pissing everywhere, set them up to win. Okay, so the dog is still a fuck up if he chews up your couch. Okay, but my point is like, how complicit are you in your own victimhood? This isn't victim blaming. This is self-defense. This is setting yourself up to win, to not be taken advantage by these people. And sometimes it's unavoidable. Sometimes there are just fucking pieces of shit that just are awful people. Like but they're not the norm. In my opinion and in my life experience, it's 1 out of 100 people, okay? Which is interesting to me. Those pieces of shit, 1 out of 100 piece of shits, that's what they found correlates with, and I'm not a big fan of psychologizing shit, but the terminology, they've done studies, actual psychopathy, right? Psychopathy, which is this fucking inkhorn term, just basically means the person has no empathy. They're selfish and they'll do whatever it takes, even if it hurts other people to get what they want, right? That's psychopathy or sociopathy. Like they're kind of close. Some people call it one thing and others. Anyway, it's spontaneously occurring. That doesn't seem like there's any thing that we can do, and any amount of the Spanish Inquisition is going to scare people straight. They just spontaneously emerge 1 out of 100 people. And that does hew with me. I think 99% of the people are good people. But the problem is this. We have systems of control like government. Now, this is interesting. Did you know that large corporate CEOs, not your mom and pop little small businesses, I'm talking the big ones, as well as government positions, high positions of power, are very, very much dominated by psychopaths? I think it's 1 out of 4 CEOs of large corporations are clinically psychopaths, which again, I hate that word because it makes it sound like Christian Bale in that movie. I'm not saying they're chopping people up, but they're fucking ruining lives, okay? And they're awful people. Because, and again, not like making any excuses for that. I'm saying you have to like deal. This is that first pillar of greatness. You have to deal with the fact that they exist and that they spontaneously emerge. And so you've got to be able to, one, say, okay, people are by nature good. Okay, so I'm not going to live in this like paranoid world where those become self-fulfilling prophecies, right? So the world is by nature good and people are good. But psychopaths tend to gravitate to positions of power. And once they're in positions of power, especially in command and control structures, like military, law enforcement that have command and control structures, you get a psychopath at the top, like Dick Cheney, you got a problem, man. You got innocent people dying. Okay. And this is the problem. They're drawn to those positions. Okay. So this is why I've done I did another podcast probably a month or so ago. You can look back in the archives on YouTube, or I think it's mostly those were on YouTube because I hadn't started on Spotify and Apple Podcasts at this point, or Facebook or LinkedIn. I think they're on YouTube. So you'll have to go. If you go to, what is it? I think it's No1 Ninja. Here, let me put it up. Let me put up the link for you guys. Yeah, here it is. N-O, like not 0, O, N-O-1, like number 1, .ninja. If you go there, you can see all the archives of my own shows. I was talking about, dude, voting is stupid. Okay. I posted this meme yesterday about the ridiculousness, how stupid things have gotten. I mean, okay, so first of all, everybody's shitting over Republicans with this Roe v. Wade stuff. I'm an agnostic, okay? I'm going to be real here. I don't pretend to know when life starts or there's one fucking thing or the other, okay? Because of that, when I really started to think about it and the moral implications, I was like, man, if there is another alternative besides abortion, I think it might be a good idea. I like the idea of adoption. There's a lot of couples out there eager to adopt, really want a baby, and we need to maybe lift up that red tape and drop the stigma of somebody who's pregnant with a mistaken pregnancy. Because I wonder, what if someday we are able to actually say detect when life begins, or if there is a soul, or I don't know. I don't pretend to know either way. But I wonder if that were to happen, this would be a fucking massive holocaust of a lot of innocent lives, right? And I'm not using religious arguments here. I'm just saying the reason I believe that. But I don't believe it should be outlawed either. Okay, I think this is a deeply personal choice, and I don't think it's cut and dry, and I don't think anybody really knows. And everybody gets all emotional and freaked out about it. And I think the best thing is to hopefully counsel people not to do it and try to come up with every other possible way to avoid it. But there are situations, and I do think that, like that a woman, any human, owns their own body. That's why these fucking mandates about saying you need to get something injected into your body and shit, dude, that's like some Harvey Weinstein level bullshit. Like that is no bueno, man. No good. Okay. And I agree that a woman does have the right to her own body. The question is there another body in there? And how does that work? I don't pretend to know. But all these people flipping out about because you've allowed other people to make choices about your life. Okay. These are like, I think the meme that I posted was it's this. I don't know if you guys can see it. The party that says men can get pregnant wants to control misinformation on the internet. That shit scares me, dude. Like even me just posting this video now, because we've seen it on Facebook where they retroactively go and punish you and put you in Facebook jail. Well, now with this Disinformation Governance Board, the DGB, I guess KGB was taken. That's a problem, dude. Maybe it's not going to be Facebook jail. Do you know in the UK, there are you could go to jail, actually imprisoned, your liberty taken away for posting a meme that somebody judges as whatever, insightful, not like inciting, not insightful, but like inciting, INCITING, bad behavior or violence or something like that. And man, I mean, it's a real scary thing. I don't like ugliness in the world. I don't want people saying awful things and hurting people or, the N word or whatever. But at the same time, dude, you can't make that stuff illegal because it fits in. This is why, in my opinion, the Second Amendment is there for the First Amendment. Because the First Amendment is how you start to stand up for yourself. Okay? I need to be able to speak freely. I need to be able to say, hey, somebody is treating me badly. Right? Because if I do go to stand up for myself and that treating me badly is like possibly life-threatening, I have to stand up for myself. I have responsibilities to myself, just as you do. I have responsibilities to my family, to my wife, to my kids, to my friends, to people I have agreements with and that need me to follow through on things that I said I would do. Right? So it's important for me to be able to defend myself, to live up to the agreements I've made to other people. Family, friends, partners, business, all of that. But if I can't speak freely and have somebody hear me and then have that judged, okay, I'm just going to say this, man. You guys got to study the Anti-Federalists. Okay, so we all know the Federalist Papers. We've all seen fucking Hamilton. Okay, that's one person's interpretation with song and dance about what was going on and whatever. But you need to study the Anti-Federalists because they were the ones, they've done some very powerful things. If it wasn't for the Anti-Federalists, we wouldn't have the Bill of Rights. You would not have freedom of speech. Okay? You wouldn't have freedom of assembly. You wouldn't have freedom to defend yourself. You wouldn't have trial by jury. You wouldn't have limits on what the government could do. Okay? And I wish they would stop calling it a Bill of Rights because it makes it sound like you're entitled to it. It really is a Bill of Duties. Again, talking about standing up. We went through this whole thing with the Nazis, man. We hung people with at the end of the Nuremberg trials. developed the Nuremberg Code, which became the basis for medical ethics in the Western world. Right? Off the Hippocratic Oath, number one. See what I did there? Number one, informed consent. Or I'm sorry. First, do no harm. Non-malfeasance. Number two, informed consent. Okay? This idea of principalism, bioethical principalism. You can look it up. It's a fascinating subject, right? Because they were forcing people, not allowing them to stand up and say no to medical experimentation. I'm sorry, man. I'm not, my hat is not tinfoil. This is like just a normal fucking snapback type of hat, dude. I'm not wearing tinfoil. I'm looking at the facts. I'm a reasonable human being. And there's some bad fallout from the pressure people will put under at threat of losing their job and their livelihood and being able to take care of their family and not being able to stand up, the pressure, the humiliation, all that. I'm glad people did stand up. I'm just shocked more people didn't. I'm really shocked. I was there at the forefront. Day one, I'm like, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. This is not a deadly virus, first of all. And what the fuck? You're going to put this crazy ass injection? You're going to be the canary down the coal mine, but like everybody? And now we see all these awful illnesses happen in kids, all these athletes dropping dead at a young age of heart attacks, these strange cancers appearing because we did not test these things. It's a huge violation of the Nuremberg Code, and people didn't stand up. Okay. So, I do think that the people responsible for that should be held accountable, but they're not going to be held accountable. And neither is Amber Heard, and neither is any of these other people unless you stand up. You have to stand up for yourself. Nobody's going to do it. And that means fucking being alone sometimes. You'll maybe find your tribe. You know what? The fucking founding fathers stood up for themselves against the largest, most powerful military force on the planet. And they almost didn't pull it off. If you really know the story, man, it was like, this is why everybody gets all talk about God and shit with it and like divine providence and all that, because they pulled off some fucking miracles. And here we are, and we're fucking squandering it. What do they say? They say good times create weak people create hard times create strong people. Well, right now we're in good times. We live in the pinnacle of comfort. You can get whatever stupid shit you want delivered to you in fucking 2 days. I'm old enough to remember when I was a kid, when I was my kid's age, like I'm 10 years old, all I had was the fucking Johnson Smith. Like that was like it had gag gifts and stupid shit, like kid stuff, like sea monkeys and fake turds and stuff. Anyway, you get them out of the back of a comic book. The Johnson Smith catalog, dude, that was my internet. And if I ordered something, man, it took 6 weeks. Okay. So, and I'm not saying I grew up in hard times. People a generation or two prior to me, my mom had to shit in an outhouse when she was a kid. She grew up on a farm. So we've been so quickly removed from some of the getting real, the actual things that are, all these people like, oh, the environment, da, da, da. The environment will fucking kill you, dude. It does not give a fuck. It doesn't like you. It doesn't want you to exist. It's difficult, right? That's why lifespans used to be so short just a couple generations ago. And here we are now. The average lifespan is like over 77 years old, right? And yet we're so dumb and scared of every fucking thing that the average mortality was like 78 for COVID, a year past natural mortality. And we're going to turn off the planet, destroy all small business. We're going to pump people full of these fucking crazy ass gene therapy, Moderna, Pfizer fuck jobs. Dude, it's a bad situation. It's no fucking bueno. And it's because people are not standing up. And I think people are not standing up because maybe a bunch of reasons. One, they're slaves to convenience. They don't want to rock the boat. They're scared. But that's when you need to stand up. When you feel fear, it's not a time to cower. That's what courage is standing up and doing the right thing. And listen, when I'm talking about these psychopaths, they're 1 out of 100. Think about that. That means there's 99 of us for every one. If 99 people cannot subdue one fucking jerk, you're a bunch of pussies, man. Okay? And that's non-gender specific. I mean, wuss, like wimp. That's no good. Okay? It's not good for people. You've got to be able to stand up. You should stand up. So, if you're in a domestic violence situation, you know what I mean? You need to stand up. If somebody is slandering you and libeling you, you've got to stand up. You don't want to devote your time to the haters, but if somebody is saying some shit and it's like affecting you, you should be like, motherfucker, where is the proof? And in the case of somebody like Johnny Depp, be like, the proof is the bitch chopped my fucking finger off, took a shit in my bed, and I got all this stuff on security camera showing it. Right? And she may be good looking. Oh, awesome. Just because you're good looking doesn't mean you can't be a psychopath. Right? And just because you're good looking doesn't mean you are a psychopath. All I'm saying is that, you've got to stand up for yourself. Right? It's crucial at multiple levels of the game. Right? So I do have to skate because I got a hard stop at 2. I appreciate you guys all coming on here. Like I said, man, even me being on this podcast and talking about like the Bill of Rights and freedom of speech and shit, I'm standing up. But we're living in an age where literally, what was the tweet that the new owner of Twitter, Elon Musk, said? All's well that Orwell. They are literally creating a disinformation governance board. Is this somehow me just bullshitting and having a talk, just like how Joe Rogan is having a talk, going to be used against you, right? So, I mean, what happened to the idea of sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me? Are we that soft? Are we that weak that we can't engage in dialogue? I think, some of it would be solved very simply if there was value placed on some of the lessons of, old debate, Greek philosopher debate level shit, like informal fallacies, like, what is an ad hominem argument? That's an argument that's not actually dealing with the subject matter, and it's just vilifying the person talking. Somehow that's meaning to discredit the idea. Look these up. Look up informal fallacies. I think if they've served me well. I stumbled onto them when I was about 20, which was coincided with the very early days of the internet. This is before Netscape. I was on Usenet. I was very fortunate in college. I had a college roommate who was a mathematician, and he showed me how to get on to Usenet and use the internet before there was visual browser. Everything was command prompt stuff. And, there was a lot of debate, not dissimilar, actually, honestly, to what happens on Facebook now, right? You get into groups, you get in debate, but nobody knows how to debate. Like, has anybody ever even explained? This isn't taught in high school except in like forensic debate, right? And who takes that? Just the fucking nerds. This should be like the basis for a civil society. A civil means like you can disagree, but it's peaceful still. That is an option, man. You can disagree with people and still be peaceful and productive and even get along with people you disagree with. This is something you don't have to be hurt by every fucking thing. You could just say that's that person's perspective. I don't subscribe to it. It's kind of bullshit, but whatever, man. It's not hurting me other than maybe I disagree. That's not fucking harm. Right? But look up informal fallacies. Well, how many fucking conversations go on? And this is maybe even arguments between best friends, spouses, business partners, and they don't understand the simple benefit of defining your terms before you engage in a conversation. And they talk right past them. because one person uses one word and it means one thing, and another person uses another word, the same word, but means something different, and they can never meet because they never even agreed to define the terms of the debate. Basic, but nobody does it, right? And so everybody walks around butthurt, and everybody wants to like use the police and the legislative part of the government to hammer people that they just disagree with. It's sad. It's pathetic. It's weak. It's beneath us as human beings. There is precedent, plenty of precedent throughout human history of people being able to discuss complex, touchy, emotional subjects and solve the problem and get along. We need to do that. So, listen, I appreciate you guys. I really, I'm very grateful anybody wants to listen to what I have to say, even if it's a couple people or hundreds of people. I appreciate that. I do have a hard stop here, so I appreciate you. But the point of this whole thing, and if you missed it, because I see a lot of people kind of jumping on randomly, especially on Instagram. If you missed it, the whole talk today was about standing up for yourself. It's important to do. And sometimes we're standing up for what's right. That's not meaning being violent, but it means like setting a boundary and arguing that point and not letting the 1%. And when I say the 1%, I'm not talking about the wealthy or anything like that, although maybe it fits to some extent. I don't want to make a blanket statement about these people. I'm talking about the 1% that are psychopaths. The 1%, and again, I hate that term because it's so laden with fucking medical-ish sounding bullshit. I'm talking about people who lack empathy, people who just hurt people without putting themselves in somebody else's shoes. I think that idea of sympathy. By the way, did you know that 1776 was, the independence year? Now, the Bill of Rights didn't come until like almost 15 years later or something, 20 years later. So you need a couple things, if I may ask, if I may assign some homework. Would you please study the Anti-Federalists, in particular with regards to the importance and what the arguments they were making for the Bill of Rights, which again should not be, and maybe that's a bad term in the way that it's used today, because it seems like an entitlement, which means somebody can take it away from you. I'm talking about a Bill of Rights, like a duty. You have a duty to speak freely. You have a duty to stand up and defend yourself. You have a duty to make sure that jury trials happen. I'd like you to look at the Bill of Rights, the Anti-Federalists, and trial by jury. I think that's super important. The other thing I'd like, and I'd implore people to research, are informal fallacies in debate and basic rules of debate. I think this would make everybody on social media be able to separate out all the agitators and the bots and the 1% of the lack of empathy, the psychopaths, from the rest of us who are our own people and have our own perspectives. So you're not going to agree with anybody 100% on anything, unless you're just like a robot. Everybody is different. Everybody has their own perspective. And as such, we need to learn to get along with everyone else. In fact, people are so crucial to your success. So it's important to learn how to be agreeable. This is actually something Grant talks about in sales, that you need to learn to be agreeable, right? Because did you know, so 1776, that's the year of independence, but it was also the year that A Brief Inquiry into the Nature of the Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, known as The Wealth of Nations. It was the book that advocated for what we now know as capitalism. That word, I think, has been abused. I think largely what we call capitalism now, that term has changed from Adam Smith's meaning. I believe now the term capitalism is closer to fascism, which that definition has changed. But the original fascist definition meant the merger of the state and the corporation. Okay, the Corporativo was the name of Mussolini's book, the founder of fascism. Okay, so when you hear people, again, words can change, and this is why you have to define the words before you talk, because if you say capitalism one person and they got like a pussy hat on or purple hair, they're gonna be oh, mad because what they're talking about is fascism. I hate fucking fascism too. But you know what is fascism? Another word, public-private partnerships. That's the fucking, man, Mussolini's probably doing fucking jumping up and down for joy in his grave over that PR triumph for fascism. Okay? What I'm talking about is the capitalism of Adam Smith, which is based upon, Adam Smith was a moral philosopher. He was part of the Scottish Enlightenment, okay, which affected the entire planet. Brilliant, brilliant thinkers. David Hume was one of these guys. You need to look up David Hume, his ideas on empiricism. Brilliant guy, okay? But prior to the Wealth of Nations, what's up, BJ? Good to see you, homeboy. Glad to see you on here. Thanks for popping in, bro. Love you too, man. Prior to the Wealth of Nations, Adam Smith, he was a professor of moral philosophy. This is why I tell you, I've said this in other podcasts. Business to me is a moral system, is a system of ethics, and it is based upon creating value, being a creator, a producer, not a consumer, or you have to be a consumer, but producing as much as you can, creating value for other people. Consent, that you don't forcibly take, you trade. That's a consensual thing, trade. If you're not being deceitful, I'm talking ethics. But Adam Smith was a professor of moral philosophy. I think it was at the University of Glasgow, if I'm not right, if I'm mistaken. Okay. His book, prior to the Wealth of Nations, it wasn't capitalism, it was the Wealth of Nations, was called The Theory of Moral Sentiments. And the whole premise was that morals are built on sympathy, empathy, putting yourself in another person's shoe, the opposite of psychopathy. The father of capitalism, and I'm not talking the pussy hat definition, I'm talking of which is fascism, which sucks. Okay, and fascism defined, I'm defining my terms, is the merger of state and corporate power. There should be a separation. This is what, in my opinion, there were, the founding fathers were brilliant. And it's no coincidence it happened in 1776, the same year that the Wealth of Nations was published, because they were highly influenced by the Scottish Enlightenment philosophers. But the mistake is they didn't separate government from everything. They separated church and state. Fucking good. Okay, let's keep those Spanish Inquisitions, that presumed guilty bullshit to a minimum. Let's get rid of that. Presume people innocent, and then if there's facts and evidence, then we can deal with the situation, okay? 1776, a whole moral system, and the only thing they didn't do is they didn't separate business and state well enough. They separated state and religion, but they didn't separate corporations and government and well enough. And so here we are. Ultimately, there's a great author, I think she's passed, a economist named Charlotte Twite. She has a book, I think she's no longer with us, super influential on me. I love the book, called, I think it's The Emerging American Fascist State or something like that. It's a great book. I read it 20, 30 years ago, but The Emerging American Fascist State or something like that. A Charlotte Twite, Twight. You can find it. It's probably used somewhere. I know it's hard to find, but you can get it. All right. See you, BJ. Good to see you, bro. Have a great day, man. So I would certainly look that book up because it really does a great job of going over the history and whatnot. And that, I think, was one of the fatal flaws. I think, obviously another fatal flaw was, I'll be real, man, Georgia, you fucked shit up. Because we were going to outlaw slavery in 1776, but we needed Georgia because we didn't have enough troops to really win. It was dude, we were way outnumbered. The British had the most powerful navy and military force in the world, right? Remember, the sun never sets on the British Empire. That was that time where we were flipping them the fucking finger. And they were pissed. And we needed everybody we had, and they made a bad fucking choice. And they said, okay, listen, Georgia, you got us by the balls. We'll not get rid of slavery right now because we need you to fight. And that was a big fucking mistake too, man. But the Anti-Federalists planted the seed in the 1790s with the Bill of Rights, which eventually led to the emancipation of the slaves, protection of rights. I mean, you got to keep in mind, guys like fucking Washington, they were all about liberty until they got in power. And then there was look up the Whiskey Rebellion. Hypocrisy started early, and the problem is that what Lord Acton said, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so even good men, now to Washington's credit, he turned down the idea of being the king of America. He said, no, I'm going to put some term limits on this shit. I wish some other people like Orrin Hatch and whatever, I wish they would follow his fucking suit. But maybe he's part of that 1%. And again, not vilifying him, just being like, dude, this shit needs to be handled. And we good people need to stand up. Okay. So I appreciate you guys. I've been trying to get off of here. Again, if I can be of any assistance to you, please, let me know. I'm here to help you. Obviously, I'm here every day talking bullshit. So if there's something I can help you with, or you have a question, or you want to challenge somebody, said that's fine. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong. Like, I'm not, I'm here to learn, but I'm also here to teach, right? It's kind of the whole thing. But, tomorrow night, I'm starting for Scientific Wrestling. Oh, see you, Kaiju, man. Talk to you soon, brother. I'm glad you popped in. Thanks for talking to and communicating with me. Tomorrow night, running an 8-week catch wrestling training camp on Wednesdays in Westminster. Show up there, man. Let's do it. I'm going to be in Southern California. At the end of May, I'll be in outside of Ontario, Ontario, California, a place called Pinion Hills, doing a catch wrestling 2-day training camp, intensive, the accelerator camp. Later in July, I'll be out there. Hey, what's up, Adam? Yep, dude. I'm excited to meet you. We're going to have a good time. Out in San Diego at the end of July, you can go to coachingcatch.com. Super amped. I'm up to now 3 of the first 8 Scientific Wrestling affiliates. This is a huge goal. I've reached a lot of my goals, so I'm rejiggering my goals to get a bigger and bigger impact and really put catch wrestling back on the map where it belongs, where I've been tasked by my mentors, Carl Gotch and Billy Robinson. So check out scientificwrestler.com. Listen, on the business side, man, I mostly talk business. And it's a big passion of mine because I believe in it so much. And again, it's such a great system. And you can really improve your life in a massive way. So if you are interested, we're doing a 3-day. This is me teaching in my capacity as only one of 66 certified by Grant Cardone as a 10X coach, mentor, and speaker. 3 days going over Grant's material on increasing your income through sales, marketing, and learning how to scale. That's 10xdenver.co. You get tickets now, man. It's in June. You're not going to want to miss it. Go to the site. You can see the testimonials from our first one we did a couple months ago, for sure. Okay. Thales Coaching. Nobody can pronounce it. They all think it's Thales, like Mike Tyson talking about sales. It's not. It's Thales. Why? I've explained it before. He's number one on many things. So I'm kind of tweaking it a little bit. I'm going to keep the company name Thales because I love the guy and I think it's important for people to explore what that guy means. But to simplify the branding, calling it number one coaching, taking you from no one to number one in your field. If I can help you with writing a book, authority-coaching.com. I'm there for you. You can go read some of my writings. I have a bunch of my old books like Anomaly and whatnot up for free, mentalselfdefense.com, as well as you can check out some of my old radio shows. What else? Oh, I just started a sales and marketing course and business development, 10xrevgen.com. You can check that out. If you want to see all the old stuff that I've done on radio, including past episodes of this show, which I highly recommend. They build on each other. A lot of the concepts build on prior shows. Check out No1 Ninja, No1.ninja. That'll take you to all the old archives. And last but not least, please pick up a mace bell. Dude, greatest thing ever. It's so simple, man. I mean, I invented it. It's nuts. I can't, whatever. It's amazing. Once you start swinging it, it's totally addictive. You can see why everybody's getting all crazy about it. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. I do got my hard stop. I got to get on with my client, like literally right now. So I appreciate you so much. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.